In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how easy it is to paint this beautiful full moon scene using acrylic paint. Hi there, my name is Kim. I'm an artist and my goal is to help people learn how to paint in a fun and approachable way. Today, I'm going to show you how absolutely anyone can create this beautiful scene in just a handful of simple steps. Jumping in right away here, I'm using a large flat brush and I have black on the top of my canvas, then I have a dark blue and then a light blue. And so I'm going to blend these three colors together, starting with the black, then blending into the dark blue, and finally the light blue. And I'm going to try to cover the top 2/3 of my canvas so we can set the stage for the sky. Once our background is finished, I'm going to get a medium pointed brush and I'm going to use that same dark blue and black paint we used earlier, and I'm going to create the distant mountains we'll see in the background. And so I'm going to accomplish that by adding a line where the sky meets the unpainted canvas, and I'm going to outline our hills in the dark blue, and then I'm going to fill in the color. Now, one thing I'm going to do, you'll notice in a second as well, is I'm going to use that same brush and I'm just going to lightly pull up on the mountains so I can create the illusion that there's trees in the far background as well. So the painting has a little bit more depth and interest and it doesn't look so flat. So now we're going to move on to creating the clouds. I'm going to use a small filbert brush and I'm going to start with some dark purple, and I'm just going to dip it in, and just using a little bit of paint, I'm going to use a scrubbing motion just lightly back and forth to create these like cloud-like shapes. So I'm not over saturating the canvas or making my clouds too dense. I really just want to use a light hand here and create the outline of cloud-like shapes to start. Okay, and once I have the dark purple clouds, I'm mixing some white and some pink here on the side, and we're going to add some additional clouds down below. So using that same brush and the same motion, I'm going to start adding in some lighter clouds here. And you'll notice in a second, I found the paint was a little bit too light for me, so I just added in a little bit extra pink. So this is really like a layering process, just kind of play with the colors as you go. Our ultimate goal is that we're going to want to fade the pink into the purple, but we'll get to that step in just a second. First, let's focus on getting some large pink clouds towards the bottom. And as I lower the level of the clouds, I'm actually also going to make them smaller and smaller. So you'll see a couple examples here. This is just to add some depth to the painting. So I want the clouds that are farthest away to appear the smallest, so the ones near the horizon, and then the ones closest to us to be the largest. So I'm going to go ahead and add some paint here for some of the pink clouds, and then we're going to blend them all together. So now that we have our pink clouds, I'm going back in with the unwashed brush and I'm adding in that dark purple, and I'm just going to blend the dark purple into the pink just to create more of a gradual transition between the two clouds. Next, I'm going to add that same light blue and dark blue we used earlier, just in reverse order. So I'm going to create the opposite reflection of the sky in the lake below, adding the light blue on top and then blending into the dark blue on the bottom. Once that's finished, we're going to move on to our moon. So I find the easiest way to paint a full moon is to find a circular shape in the size you want. So I have a little pottery bowl here that I'm using, and I'm going to trace out with a pencil. And then I'm going to go in with a medium filbert brush, and I'm going to fill the moon with white. So this just allows me to have a bit more crisp of an edge. We can obviously fix things as we go, but this is just a helpful tip for you. So now we're on to the fun part. While your white paint is still wet for your moon, I'm going to go in and I'm going to add some colors on top so we can create a bit more of like a realistic variation of our moon. So how I like to do this is I like to add color a little bit at a time, and then I just use my finger and I just blend out the edges. I love using this method because I feel like it really helps to make the moon surface look natural. Of course, like, we're not going for a realistic moon here. We already have pink clouds, so adding a realistic moon at this point would be kind of funny. But what I really want to do is just create more variation and interest in the moon surface. So I'm just going to dab on a bit of purple paint here and there, blend it out until majority of the surface is covered. And I'm also making sure that I vary the opacity of the purple as well. So I want there to be some darker areas, some deeper craters that are darker, and then some lighter areas with just a dusting of purple. Once I have my base of purple on, I'm actually going to do the exact same thing, but I'm going to use the pink as well, just to create a little bit extra variation to the surface of the moon. So this is really just a patience and layering game, so just keep playing with it until you're happy and you have a good balance of the purple, the pink, and the white peeking through. Once you're happy with your moon surface, we're going to use a small liner brush, and I'm dipping into the white, and I'm just going to add some additional little points of detail on the moon. So I like to add little white craters, so you just paint a little point and then pull some lines out from there. So you can add in some little dimples to the moon surface, some craters, and this just helps add a little bit extra variation and interest in the moon surface. Okay, and while we have our liner brush and we're painting the moon surface, let's also go ahead and add some stars in the sky. And so I'm just gonna start adding some stars in between the clouds and around the moon, and I'm gonna try to make them a little bit smaller towards the horizon, same way we did with the clouds. With that same liner brush, we're also going to add in some details to the lake. So I'm just using a really light skipping motion, and I'm just going to add some lines here to dictate the reflection of the moon in the surface. So I'm first going to use white and add in some details for the reflection in the center. And then I'm going to go in with the light pink as well and add some additional reflections of the clouds above. All right, you're doing great. I promise you are almost there. We just have to finish our foreground now. So I'm using that same small filbert brush from earlier, and I'm going to outline where I want the ground of the foreground to be here and just filling it in with black. And then we're going to go ahead and add in some trees. So load up your brush. I find it easiest to start at the top and then just slowly pull it down towards the ground. That way you can start at the top and make it as thin as possible and then increase the thickness as you get towards the ground to make them look as realistic as possible. So let's add a few trees on either side. Once you're happy with your trees, we're going to use a small pointed brush here, and we're going to add some ground cover to the foreground as well. So using back and forth stroking motions, you can add some little trees to the bottom. I also like adding in just some random leaves peeking through the trees, and also some grasses that just help give some more like interest to the foreground without it appearing overly flat. All right, we're getting close to the finish line. I'm going to use that same liner brush from earlier and some black, and we are going to add some branches to these trees. So the most important branches are going to be the ones that are going to be framing the moon, because they'll help the moon stand out and bring the painting together really nicely. So I'm going to add those in first, and then I'm also going to add some smaller branches on towards the bottom of the tree as well as in between the trees. So we're on to the final step, and that's adding some leaves to your branches. So I'm just using a small pointed brush, and I'm just going to add some leaves, keeping them thicker towards the ends of the branches, and then also adding them in between the trees as well, here and there. So I don't want to like overly cover everything, because I do want some of like the stars and the moon and the clouds in the background to peek out, but I just want to add more visual interest to the painting, and especially I want to frame up the moon nicely. All right, and once you're happy with your leaves, you're finished your painting. If you had fun painting this full moon scene together, then you're gonna love this next art tutorial I have for you on how to paint a mountain stream. So click to watch, and I'll see you there.